In 1930, Atlanta. Thus was the frightening Williams family, the child who spoke in his sleep and wasn't asleep. The creaking floorboards let out whispers as Clara Williams stepped over the threshold of her grandmother's old Victorian house. It loomed before her, a grand silhouette of faded glory and intricate woodwork, but the beauty did little to soothe the chill settling in her bones. Dust motes danced in the sunlight, filtering through grimy panes, and with every breath she could taste the musty air, thick with secrets and something darker. It was late afternoon when Clara first noticed the bulge in the living room wall. Shrouded by shadows and laden with cobwebs, it seemed to whisper of its estrangement, a swell that defied logic and architecture. For a moment, it felt as if the house itself had sighed, a sound both mournful and threatening. She pressed her palm flat against the wall, feeling the uneven surface beneath her fingertips, her heart hammering as if it wanted to break through her chest and flee. Night fell like a shroud, and as Clara settled into bed, the unease slithered back, curling around her like a coiled snake. The house groaned in silence, and with it came muffled voices, swirling up from the very floorboards upon which she rested. Words she could not catch, hushed and urgent, spun a web of dread around her. She lay frozen, listening to what she hoped were simply the echoes of shadows, faint remnants of a family that once was. The attic called to her, a siren song filled with the promise of secrets long buried. Clara climbed the creaky stairs the very next day, driven by instinct and the weight of a legacy wrapped in uncertainty. There, amongst the dust and forsaken memories, she stumbled across an old trunk, its surface chipped and faded but locked tight, a silent guardian of whatever lay within. Her heart quickened as she pried it open. Inside, a trove of haunting photographs loomed, faces she barely recognized, staring back with a longing mixed with sorrow. Each letter she unfolded brought shivers, detailing disappearances and whispered rumors of madness. A family history scratched into paper, filled with silences that spoke louder than words. Clara felt herself drawn deeper into the darkness, every discovery unveiling threads of a sinister pattern within her lineage. As the days unfolded, Atlanta transformed from a city of promise into a realm of nightmares stitched together by the shadows of her forebears. The whispers grew louder at night, each rasp echoing memories of those who had vanished into thin air, perhaps to join the cacophony of voices resonating from the depths of a house alive yet dead. As she gazed into the shifting shadows dancing across her bedroom walls, the weight of her family's history bore down upon her. What secrets did the Victorian hold? What had her grandmother known? Clara's heart raced with unanswered questions, for the very air around her thickened, drawing her toward the edge of an abyss that might contain truths she was not ready to face. Shadows stretched and twisted, and as she closed her eyes against the encroaching darkness, she couldn't help but wonder if the true horror was not yet revealed, if something far more sinister still lingered in the corners of her bloodline, waiting to awaken. Clara woke with a start. The room was cold, shadows spilling from every corner, wrapping around her like a thick fog. She glanced at the clock. It was just after 3 in the morning. Silence filled the air, but she could still hear the murmurs, soft and urgent, creeping through the floor. She sat up, heart pounding. "Mom!" she called, but the only reply came from the creaking house. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and stood. "I'll check the attic," she decided, forcing herself into the cold air. The stairs groaned under her weight as she climbed, each step a warning to turn back. She reached the attic door, pushing it open with a quick shove. Hello?" Her voice sounded small in the vast space. Dust hung in the beams of moonlight. The trunk sat waiting, still locked. Clara felt a pull, a need to find out what was inside. She knelt beside it, feeling the rusted lock under her palm. Footsteps echoed behind her. "Clara!" She whipped around. It was her brother, Mark. He rubbed sleep from his eyes. "What are you doing up here? It's late." "I heard something. I have to know what's in this trunk," she said, her voice sharp with urgency. "Can't we just leave it alone?" Mark looked at the trunk as if it might bite. "Mom said not to dig into stuff like this." "We can't just pretend it doesn't exist," she pressed. It's a part of us. We have to face it." Mark sighed. stepping closer. Fine. But if it's just old junk, you're going to feel stupid. Clara grabbed a nearby hammer. Let's open it then. Together, they worked at the lock. A few hard hits, and it sprang open. Clara lifted the lid, revealing a jumble of photographs and letters. Dude, what the heck? Mark leaned in. Look at these, she said, pulling out a tattered photo. These are our grandparents. I don't even recognize them. Mark scrunched his face. Yeah, but did you read any of those letters? They're creepy. Creepy how? Clarification was needed. Like, look at this one, he pointed. It talks about the darkness that takes over the family. Clara swallowed hard. But it can't be real. Just stories. Can't be too careful, Clara. Mark's tone shifted, turning serious. Mom was scared about this place. What if she was right? I just need to know. Clara's voice cracked. She flipped through some papers, and one caught her attention. It was yellowed, ink smudged, but the words screamed out at her. Something terrible happened. To Uncle Joe. Mark leaned closer. What did he do? Clara hesitated as she read further. It says he vanished without a trace. No one remembers him, like he never existed. Shut up, no way, Mark scoffed. You're just digging for drama. I'm not, Clara argued. Mark backed up, arms crossed. You're trying too hard. Let's just go back to bed. Suddenly a loud crash echoed through the attic, followed by a thudding sound. Both siblings froze. What was that? Mark's face grew pale. I don't know, Clara admitted, adrenaline rushing through her. Stay here. Before she heard his protest, Clara dashed toward the attic door, hesitation gone. She opened it and stepped into the dark hallway. The noise came again, louder this time. Clara turned towards the source, the living room. Shadows flickered beneath the doorframe. After taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door and stepped inside. The living room was empty, but the furniture was overturned, the couch tilted awkwardly. Mark! Clara called, a hint of fear creeping in. Are you— Another crash came from the kitchen. Stay back, Mark shouted abruptly from the attic. Clara jumped. What are you doing up there? I don't know, he yelled. There's something in here, something nasty. What? She felt a chill race down her spine, her gut tightening. Don't come up, just leave. Run. Stop it, Clara shouted. I'm not going anywhere without you. She turned back to the living room as the door creaked. Something slithered into view, a long, dark shape, almost human-like, but distorted and wrong. Clara's heart raced with fear. Clara, get out! Mark screamed. She darted toward the attic stairs. The creature lunged. Mark! The figure was faster than she expected, reaching for her, cold fingers brushing her arm. Clara pulled away and stumbled backward, eyes wide. Mark barreled down the stairs, panic driving him. He rushed into the living room, but the room twisted and transformed, shadows swirling. Clara, now! He grabbed her arm. The creature let out a guttural sound, something between a whisper and a growl. Leave! This house! Clara felt Mark tugging at her. He pulled her toward the door. Let's go. Wait, what about the trunk? We cannot stay. We can't. They rushed toward the front door, but it slammed shut before they could reach it. Clara felt the air thicken. What now? Mark asked, desperate. The creature advanced, the shape becoming clearer, but it didn't look human now, not anymore. It twisted and morphed, its face a melted mask of despair. Help! Clara shouted as the thing reached out for them. But there was no one to help. It was only them and the shadows. Clara, hold on! Mark pulled her closer as the darkness closed in. Then came the awful sound of splintering wood. The attic door burst open, and the trunk flew towards them, the weight of it sending a shock through the floor. Run! Mark yelled, but Clara couldn't move. The trunk cracked open, spilling out pictures, faces from the past, twisted and warped like a curse released. Clara, move! And just as the darkness lunged, one photo flickered, and a scream rang out. Then silence. The room went dark. Clara! Mark shouted, but his voice faded. The last thing she saw was that haunting figure reaching for her. Then everything exploded into blackness. Clara felt herself pulled into the void. The darkness swallowed her whole. No light, no sound, just a suffocating silence. Then she blinked back into reality. Clara gasped, her eyes flying open. She was on the floor of the living room, staring at the ceiling. Heavy shadows lingered, but the suffocating presence had gone. "Mark!" she shouted. "Clara!" He was next to her, wild-eyed. "You okay?" "I think so." She pushed herself up, shaking her head to clear the fog. "What happened?" "Don't know." Mark's voice trembled. "The creature, I don't know." Clara took a breath, trying to absorb it all. "We have to get out of here." "Yeah, but how?" He looked around, panic creeping into his expression. "The door's still shut." Clara glanced at the front door. It was firmly shut, not a hint of movement. "We can break it down," she suggested. He shook his head. "No way." "What if that thing is still around?" They heard a laugh then, a soft, mocking sound echoing through the house. It wasn't loud, but it pierced through the thick atmosphere like a knife. "Did you hear that?" Mark whispered, eyes wide. "Yeah." Clara's stomach knotted. "Where is it coming from?" Before Mark could answer, the laughter morphed into whispers, swirling around them as if the house itself conspired against them. "Let's check the back door," Clara said, standing up, her legs shaky beneath her. "Maybe it's open." Mark followed, his brow furrowed. "What if we run into that thing? We can't stay here." She turned and headed toward the kitchen, stepping cautiously over the scattered furniture. The kitchen door was still locked tight. Clara turned the knob and shook it. "Locked," she groaned. "Great. Try a window," Mark suggested. Clara moved to the nearest window, yanking it open. It creaked and rattled but wouldn't budge. "It's stuck!" Mark pressed against the glass, peering through. "No one is outside, just trees." "It's like the whole place is a prison," Clara grumbled. The whispers grew louder, almost mocking. Clara clenched her jaw. "Shut up!" she yelled into the empty space. Mark glanced at her, surprised. "You think they can hear you?" The whispers paused, then resumed softer. They curled around her with a sense of urgency, not threatening, but pleading. "Clara," Mark said, his voice cautious. "What if something really did happen here?" "We have to focus," Clara replied. "We need a plan. Think." Suddenly the attic door creaked open, swinging wide. Clara could hardly believe her eyes. "Mark, look!" she gasped. "What if it's a trap?" he asked, stepping back. "I don't know, but we need answers. That trunk?" Mark shook his head. "No way. We just faced that thing. We're not going back up there." "Then what do we do?" Clara pressed. "If it can come after us, we have to know what we're dealing with. We can find a way out. We can call someone." "Who? It's the middle of the night!" She threw her hands up. "We're stuck here!" Mark sighed heavily. "I'm not going back up. You can't make me." "Fine, but I'm going," Clara declared, striding towards the stairs. "Wait!" Mark called out, fear etched on his face. "What if it's still in the house?" Clara hesitated, but the frustration and fear quickly replaced her doubts. "I have to know." She took a step toward the attic, gripping the railing for balance. "Damn it, Clara, you're not going alone." Mark followed, his voice rising. As they stepped back into the attic, a cold wind swept through the room. Clara shivered. "It's just a draft." "Yeah, right." Mark swallowed hard, glancing around. The trunk still stood in the middle, ominous. Clara approached it slowly. "Let's just look," she urged. "What if we don't like what we find?" Mark asked. "We have to try." She knelt down, trying to ignore the gnawing fear in her gut. The lid creaked as Clara opened it. The photographs and letters scattered like fallen leaves. "Each one tells a story," she murmured. Mark picked up a photo, his hands trembling. "What's this one?" he asked. Clara leaned closer. That's not Grandma and Grandpa." Mark looked up, confusion on his face. "Who are they?" "I don't know." Just then, the attic door slammed shut behind them. They both jumped, hearts racing. "Did you see that?" Mark looked around. "We need to get out." A loud bang echoed as if something had hit the outside of the house. The walls shook. Clara clenched her fists, adrenaline surging. "We're trapped." "Things don't just happen like this," Mark shouted, panic breaking his voice. "What do you mean?" Clara shot back, barely holding her own fear. "People don't just vanish. Maybe something is keeping us here." Clara's breath hitched. "Stop it! You're freaking me out!" Mark dropped the photo, pacing. "We can't ignore what's happening. Mark, focus!" Clara yelled as she pushed the photos aside. "There has to be something here, something that explains this." In a moment of desperation, Clara reached for one of the papers buried under the photographs. As she pulled it free, the attic door burst open again, revealing the dark entity from before, its shape writhing and unnatural. They both froze, terror gripping them. The creature advanced, its voice slithering through the air. "You stayed to face your bloodline. What do you want?" Clara shouted, backing away. "Want?" It laughed, chillingly. "You are home." Mark grabbed Clara's arm, backing toward the far wall. "Leave!" Clara screamed. "Not yet!" the creature hissed, a grin forming that sent shivers down their spines. "You have much to learn. Your family's history is a curse." "What do we have to do?" Clara threw back. "Embrace it," the creature growled, inching closer. "No, we're breaking this curse first," Mark yelled. As Clara's finger slid across the paper she'd pulled free, she read the name. Uncle Joe's name, scrawled in angry letters, staining the page in venomous ink. "What's this?" Clara mumbled. Mark's eyes widened with fear. "What did you find?" It's him." Clara's voice shook. "He was the one." And suddenly, the attic filled with aggressive whispers, all chanting one name, a name that would unearth unspeakable truths. "Joe! Joe! Joe!" Everything blurred as the creature lunged, crushing the air between them, reaching for answers. "Clara!" Mark shouted. Before she could answer, the room shook violently, the world spinning as the darkness pressed down. Then the whispers turned to roars, and everything went black again. The darkness swirled thicker, suffocating them. Clara and Mark stood frozen, the creature looming before them, its grotesque form writhing with anger and hunger. "Clara!" Mark shouted, breath coming fast. "What do we do?" "Back to the trunk," Clara yelled, her voice firm despite the panic rising in her chest. Then the raucous whispers crashed over them again, chanting one name relentlessly. "Joe! Joe! Joe!" The shadows pressed in, echoing their fear. "Shut up!" Mark screamed, but the creature only grinned wider as it advanced. "Joe! Joe!" The voice echoed, harsher. "He's the reason you're here." "What does that even mean?" Clara shouted, clutching Mark's arm tightly. "You have to remember," the creature hissed, grasping at the edges of their reality. "You must face your bloodline." "We don't want you," Mark yelled. "Leave us alone." The creature lunged toward them, swift and jagged. Clara stumbled backward, pushing Mark out of the way just in time. They tumbled to the floor, their eyes wide with terror as the creature's heavy form brushed past them. "Clara, get up!" Mark shouted, scrambling to his feet. "Where?" Clara exclaimed, pulling herself to a standing position. The trunk. She rushed toward it, her heart pounded in her ears. "Clara, don't go that way." Mark's voice cut through the chaos, but she kept moving. "Get the letters, the pictures," she called to him, urgency filling her words. She ripped the trunk open again, sifting through the old photographs and letters. The whispers around her grew louder, more insistent. "Come on, come on," she mumbled under her breath, digging deep. "There's got to be something here. Clara, we're running out of time. It's coming back." Mark's fear echoed into the dimness. "I found it!" Clara yelled, pulling out a yellowed letter, its edges frayed and worn. "Look!" Mark rushed to her side, eyes scanning the page. "What does it say?" "It was Uncle Joe. He did something." Clara's hands trembled as she read aloud. "Something even the family couldn't forgive." "You think that's why the creature's here?" Mark couldn't take his eyes off the letter. Suddenly the attic floor shuddered underfoot. Clara stumbled, and the creature's laugh rolled through the space, something cold and mocking. "Why do you think you are safe?" it crooned. "The past never lets go." "Shut up!" Mark shouted, stepping in front of Clara protectively. "We are not your playthings! Your bloodline belongs to me!" The creature's voice shrieked, distorting as it lunged again. Mark dropped his shoulder, bracing for something awful. A thundering crash came from below, shaking the house. The walls trembled violently, sending dust and debris raining down. "What was that?" Clara yelled, panic surging as she shielded her head. "Something's in the house," Mark shouted. "We have to leave now." "Not without knowing," Clara pleaded. "We can't just run." The letter slipped from her hand, fluttering to the ground. The whispers quickened, filling the space with a gravity Clara could barely understand. "Clara, now!" Mark pulled at her. But then, as if in response to their desperation, a bright flash erupted from the trunk. The photographs erupted in a blinding light. Both Clara and Mark squeezed their eyes shut, stumbling back. "Clara!" Mark yelled again. "Mark, I can't see," Clara cried out, panicked. "Just grab my hand." Before she could move, the light enveloped her. Then silence. Moments later, it faded. Clara blinked, her vision clearing. She was no longer in the attic. "Mark," she whispered. She stood in a dimly lit room, unfamiliar walls around her. Mark was gone. "Mark," she called, heart racing. The shadows shifted. The air was thick with tension. From the corner of her eye, she saw something move. It was a figure standing in the doorway. "Mark!" She squinted into the gloom, and then in the stark light of the room she saw the face. An older man with familiar features, a haunting resemblance to Uncle Joe. "Clara," he said softly, stepping forward. "It's about time you found me." Her heart dropped. "Joe?" Clara barely breathed the name. You're real? I'm not here to hurt you." His voice was smooth, almost soothing. "You need to understand. The darkness, it's all connected." What do you mean?" she stammered. He reached out. "You have to listen to me. I can explain why the house keeps you, why the creature wants you. You're part of something much bigger." "Where's Mark?" Clara demanded, scanning the shadows. "Where is he?" "He's safe for now," Joe said, but there was a flicker in his eyes. "You don't want to lose him too." "What do you mean? What did you mean everything is connected?" Joe hesitated, a sharp breath escaping him. "The darkness is a curse, and it's your family's legacy to break it." "Break it?" Clara echoed, confusion swirling. "How?" Before Joe could answer, the shadows behind him twisted. The creature slithered from the darkness, growing larger, its focus on Clara. "Joe!" Clara yelled, but he was already turning away. "Run, Clara!" he shouted, panic flashing in his eyes. "No, I won't leave you!" she screamed, but the room began to collapse around her. "Find the truth!" Joe's voice echoed as the creature lunged for him. The walls rattled, the darkness swelling. Clara felt herself pulled back, the old attic fading from view. "Clara, no!" Mark's voice called out from the void, and with that, everything went dark again. Clara's breath caught in her throat. What had just happened? Her heart raced as she realized the terror was far from over. Clara blinked. The darkness fell away, but everything felt wrong. She was still in that strange room, but it was empty now, save for the memories lingering in the shadows. "Mark?" she shouted. His voice echoed back. "Clara, where are you?" She took a breath, scanning the space. "I'm here. Where are you?" "Clara, His voice faded. "Mark!" She felt panic rise. "I'm coming! Stay there!" She ran to the door where Joe had stood just moments ago. The shadows twisted outside, flickering like restless flames. Clara pressed the door open, stepping into another dark hallway. "Mark! Clara!" His voice, close. She followed the sound, racing down the dim corridor. The air felt heavy, thick with tension. "Clara!" he yelled again. "I'm coming!" She rounded a corner, almost slipping on the floor. Then she saw him. He stood at the end of the hall. "Mark!" She dashed forward. "Thank God!" "Clara!" He turned slowly, panic in his eyes. "Do you see it?" "What?" She looked around, but the hallway just looked like something out of a nightmare. "Back there," he pointed. His voice quivered. "It wasn't just a creature." "What do you mean?" "It changed." His eyes were wide, fearful. "It had a face, Clara. I swear I saw it. It was ours." "What? No, that can't be. Come on." He grabbed her arm. "We have to find a way out." "Right, we can't stay here." She pulled him along, urgency driving her. They reached a window. The glass was intact but wouldn't budge. "Damn it, it's locked." "Look for a door," Mark shouted, turning back. "I'm trying." Clara pounded her fist against it. "This has to work." But the room remained silent, shadows creeping around them. "Clara!" Mark shouted, eyes darting. The whispers rose again, echoing, swirling. They skittered around Clara, cold and full of hunger. "Make it stop!" she cried out. "Stop screaming! Just think!" Mark shook her, urgency crackling in the air. "We have to know what we're up against." "Like how?" She felt tears prick her eyes. "You think I'm not scared? They'll eat us if we don't know." Then the walls vibrated again like they were alive. Dust fell from above. "Run!" Mark yelled, pulling Clara down the hall. "Where?" "Anywhere!" he shouted back, leading them to a door at the end of the corridor. "Here!" He flung it open. They stumbled into another room. This one had more light, flickering from an overhead bulb. They stood shoulder to shoulder, breathing hard. "What now?" Clara questioned, looking at the odd shapes in the room. "Do you see anything?" Mark asked, searching the corners. Nothing. She stepped cautiously, her heart pounding. Just then, a chill swept through the room. Clara froze. "Did you feel that?" she whispered. Mark nodded, eyes wide. "Yeah." A loud crash erupted from behind them. They turned, eyes wide. The door they just came through slammed shut. "Not again!" Clara gasped. "We're trapped!" "Find a way out!" Mark cried, but fear lingered in his voice. Clara noticed a wall of shelves filled with strange artifacts, old books, dusty jars, and odd trinkets. "Maybe something here can help." "Clara, we don't have time. I'll be quick." She rushed forward, sifting through items. Her hands trembled. She searched for something, anything that could free them. And then she spotted it, a small journal nestled at the back of a shelf. "Mark, look at this!" He hurried over, eyes narrowing at the book. "What is that?" "I don't know, but it might have some answers." She flipped open the pages, revealing uneven handwriting. "What does it say?" Mark leaned closer. "It's about Uncle Joe." Clara hesitated. He was involved in something bad." "Like what?" "Something deep." She shivered. "Dark rituals, bloodlines, rituals. That's insane." Her eyes widened. "But what if it's true? What if he's the reason?" "The reason for what?" Before she could answer, the shadows surged around them. The creature poured through the cracks like smoke, rushing toward them. "Clara, move!" Mark yelled, pulling her away from the shelf. "No, wait!" The creature lunged, but Clara clutched the journal tight. "Hold it!" she shouted. The creature paused, eyes glimmering like shards of ice. "You dare confront your lineage?" it hissed. "What do you want from us?" Clara cried. The creature twisted, strange tendrils reaching out. "Your blood is mine." "No, we're breaking free!" Mark shouted, stepping in front of Clara. "Mark!" Clara began, but the creature whipped around, striking at Mark. "Mark!" He fell backward, crashing against an old table. The creature laughed, cold and cruel. "Mark, get up!" Clara fought tears, panic gripping her. He stared up at her, eyes wide, mouth moving, but no words came out. "Mark!" She rushed to him, but the creature's attention shifted. "You will embrace what you are." Out of the corner of her eye, Clara saw the journal glowing faintly. "It's the book, Mark. We have to do something." "What can we even do?" Mark gasped, struggling to his feet. "Read it, please," Clara begged. He grabbed the journal, flipping through it frantically. "Find something, anything." "Clara, this is crazy. How can we fight this? Just do it." As the creature advanced, whispers swelled again, disjointed. Clara felt the air grow heavy, thick with malice. "Uncle Joe," she shouted, voice trembling. "What did you do?" The creature snarled. "He took your blood. The darkness was his choice." "No," Clara whispered. "It can't be true." "It is." The creature lurched closer. "You too will join." Then Mark gasped. "There's something." "What?" He pointed to a passage, words rising like smoke from the page. "It talks about sacrificing blood to break the curse." "No, we can't." Clara backed up, shaking her head. "It might be the only way." "But at what cost? We have to decide." Then darkness slammed into them. A blinding wave of terror drowned the room. "Clara!" Mark shouted. The creature howled, its form expanding, shadows consuming everything. "Make a choice, now!" Clara's heart raced, panic freezing her. "Clara, what will you do?" "Mark!" she cried, helpless. Suddenly the journal erupted in light. It flared bright, illuminating the shadows. "Clara!" Mark yelled through the chaos. "I can't!" Then with one deafening scream, the shadows ripped apart. Clara felt herself falling. She reached for Mark, but he was gone, lost to the darkness. "Mark!" she screamed, but the night swallowed her cries, and the last thing she saw was the creature's twisted grin. Then everything went dark. Clara fell into the darkness, her heart racing, the world spinning. She could barely catch her breath as the shadows surrounded her, thick and cold. In that moment, everything she feared loomed just out of reach. "Mark!" she screamed, but there was no answer. The fear twisted in her gut, pulling her deeper into the void. Suddenly, light flickered around her, warmth against the chilled air. She felt herself landing on something solid. The weight of shadows began to lift. "Clara!" Mark's voice seemed to come from the distance. She squinted, eyes adjusting. "Mark!" she shouted again, relief flooding in, flowing over the fear that still clung to her. "Where are you?" He sounded far off. "I'm here!" She turned, searching the light that began to break through the dark. "Take my hand." He appeared, stepping out of the shadows, extending his arm. She reached for him. "I thought I lost you." "Not yet." He pulled her close. "What's happening?" "Don't know. But that thing," she shuddered, thinking of the creature. "It was trying to take us." Mark swallowed hard. "We have to move. Now." They turned to the hallway, but it was gone. The dim room with the glowing artifacts now seemed to fold into itself, walls shifting. The door to the attic remained shut, pulsing with darkness. "Back to the trunk. We need to make sense of this," Clara urged, anxiety bubbling up. But before they could move, the air shifted again. The whispers returned, swirling like a storm. "Run!" Mark urged, pulling Clara along. They stumbled through a different room, bare and forgotten, echoes of their footsteps lingering. "Where are we?" Clara asked. "Could have sworn we just came this way." Mark turned in circles, confusion settling in. The shadows darted between the walls, blinking out of existence at their presence. Does it ever stop? Clara felt dark tendrils curling around her, as if trying to pull her back into oblivion. "Stay close!" Mark shouted, his eyes scanning every corner. They pushed through another doorway into a tight hallway. One door was slightly ajar. Clara rushed forward and swung it open. The room inside was dim, filled with old furniture draped in sheets, dust motes swirling in the air. "Look for something useful," Mark urged. Clara rifled through a nearby desk, fingers brushing against old papers and boxes. "There has to be answers here." And then she found it. A small diary, its pages yellowed with age. "Mark, this!" She waved it at him. "What does it say?" he urged, edging closer. She flipped it open. The words were jumbled, but secrets spilled out. "It's about the house, how it's been passed down through generations." "What about Uncle Joe?" Mark was nervous. "Is he mentioned?" "Yes. It says he was part of something dark, something that could take over the family." Clara's voice quaked. "It mentions a blood sacrifice." "Clara, that's messed up," Mark said. "We can't ignore it. Maybe that's how to beat this curse. We need to confront whatever ties us here." "Do you really want to go the blood route?" Mark asked, doubt creeping in. "No, but..." She hesitated, flipping pages. "Maybe it's the only way to break it." Suddenly, a shattering noise rang through the air. An unseen force slammed against the walls. The room shook violently, dust raining from above. "Clara, we have to go!" Mark yelled. "Wait!" Clara's heart pounded. "What if it's the creature?" Before she could react, the door flew open, revealing the unsettling figure, the creature that haunted their dreams. Its distorted shape slithered into the room, face a grotesque mask of despair. "Find the truth," it hissed. "You cannot escape." "Mark, don't look!" Clara grabbed her brother's arm. "Let's go!" They darted back into the hallway. The darkness chased them, taunting their every step. "You belong to me. You will join the darkness." A gust of wind rushed past, blowing Clara's hair into her face. "This can't be happening," she cried out. "Keep moving!" Mark shouted. They burst into another room, gripping the walls for balance. It felt like the house was shifting against them, tightening with every move they made. "No more running!" Clara's voice strained as the whispers grew louder, circling them as if they were prey. "We have to stand our ground." "Then what?" Mark questioned, breathing hard. Clara caught her breath. "I don't know, but what if we confront it like Uncle Joe?" "Are you nuts? Do we have a choice?" She pointed to the diary still cradled against her chest. "We learn and confront together." "Okay, let's do it," Mark agreed, though his face grew pale. "But if this goes sideways, it's all or nothing." Clara stepped forward, gripping Mark's hand. They turned to face the darkness, the creature looming before them, a terror embodied. "You dare challenge your fate!" it screeched, eyes glinting with malice. "Why are you doing this?" Clara shouted back, heart pounding. "Your bloodline is tainted. The darkness must feed." "No!" Mark countered, voice firm. "We won't let you take us. You can't control us. The truth lies within you," the creature hissed, and for a moment Clara saw something shift in the shadows behind it. "Mark, the journal," Clara urged, gripping it tightly. "It said we must choose." "Choose?" he asked, bewildered. "Choose to confront what is ours. Do we even know what's inside us?" Mark's voice cracked, fear lacing every word. But before Clara could confirm, the darkness rushed toward them, curling up their legs and pulling them down. "No! Fight it!" Clara cried, struggling to free herself. "I can't!" Mark shouted, his face stricken with panic. And then, with a suddenness that took her breath away, the shadows pulled her back. "Mark!" she screamed, but he was yanked to the floor, tumbling through the dark expanse that spread like a wave. Clara felt herself losing her brother as she clawed for him. "Get out!" he yelled, voice swallowed by the void. Then, in a terrifying moment, a memory came flooding back. A day lost to shadows. She remembered the family gatherings, Uncle Joe's laughter, and how it felt to be whole. She saw their mother, laughter booming, but within that memory was something darker, a shadow tucked away. "Clara!" Mark's scream jerked her back to the present. The creature's laughter echoed, mocking their struggle. "Find the truth!" it howled again, strands of darkness wrapping around them tighter, squeezing the breath from their lungs. "Mark!" Clara shouted, and the words ignited something within her. The diary slipped from her trembling hands, landing open on the cold floor. Suddenly, another figure appeared at the door. "Clara! Mark!" the voice echoed, a familiar sound cutting through the chaos. "Mom!" Clara whispered as the figure stepped into the light. Her mother. "Get away from them!" She raised her arm, a flash emanating from her palm. "What? Mom, you're alive!" Clara's heart raced. The creature recoiled, its form twisting, ripping apart. "Mom, what is happening?" Mark gaped. "I thought you were lost." Her mother's voice was fierce. "Not again." "Not my children. Are you with it or against?" Clara's voice shook, doubt swirling. Before her mother could answer, the shadows lurched closer, seeking to claim them. "Clara! Mark! Trust me!" she shouted, stepping forward. The room swelled with energy, crackling with something unfamiliar. It swept over Clara like a storm. "Mom, please!" And just as the darkness lunged again, a blinding light erupted. It swallowed them whole. Then silence fell, wrapping Clara in a blanket of uncertainty. "Mom?" she whispered into the stillness. There was no answer, only the murmur of the shadows waiting for their call. Clara blinked again, bracing herself as the blinding light faded around her. She found herself back in the attic, dust swirling like the spirits that still clung to its corners. But something was different. The heavy weight of despair that haunted the house had lifted, replaced by a gentle calm. "Mom!" Clara called out, her voice barely breaking the silence. In the far corner, she saw her mother emerge from the shadows, her presence warm and reassuring. "Clara! Mark!" she exclaimed, rushing towards them. Relief washed over Clara as she ran into her mother's embrace, the familiar scent of home wrapping around her like a protective cloak. "We thought we lost you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Not if I can help it," her mother replied softly, pulling back to look at them both. "I'm so proud of you for facing this head-on." Mark stood nearby, still shaken, but managed a smile. "I thought we were done for, that thing. It felt so real." "It was," their mother said, her expression turning serious. "But you two showed the strongest kind of bravery. You didn't let it take control." The shadows in the attic began to dissolve slowly, creeping towards the edges of the room like fading smoke. "What about Uncle Joe?" Clara asked, her heart heavy with the memories attached to his name. "He was trapped too," their mother said, sadness flooding her voice. "But he sacrificed everything to protect you. The darkness was stronger than even he imagined." Clara looked at Mark, his face reflecting a mix of understanding and sorrow. "So we're free now? The curse is broken?" "Yes," their mother confirmed, a soft smile returning to her lips. "But you must remember the power of the bond you share. The connection to your family must always guide you forward." As the last remnants of the shadows evaporated, Clara felt a sense of warmth, hope blooming inside her like spring after a long winter. But deep down, A question lingered. Were the shadows truly gone, or just waiting for another chance? "Let's go home," Clara suggested, a sense of peace washing over her as they turned to leave the attic behind. Just as they moved toward the stairs, a flutter of movement caught Clara's eye. In the corner of the attic lay the journal she had found earlier, glowing faintly. She turned back, her heart racing. There was something she hadn't read, something important. "Wait, I need to check it one more time," Clara said, rushing toward the journal. "Clara, what if—" Mark started, but she felt a pull, a whisper beckoning her to uncover just one last secret. The air shifted again, and Clara recoiled as the shadows flickered at the edges, almost responding to her presence. "Stop!" she shouted, eyeing the journal with a mix of fear and determination. "We have to know!" In that moment, her mother and Mark exchanged worried glances, but Clara felt resolute. Against all odds, they had faced the darkness. "Clara!" Mark called out, his tone desperate. "We can't go back." But it was too late. Clara grasped the journal tightly, her heart pounding. The whispers returned, softer now, but still filled with urgency, spinning tales of an unknown future. As shadows crept closer, mingling with the light, Clara faced them head-on, adrenaline pushing her to uncover the truth behind the family legacy, behind Uncle Joe's sacrifice. "Tell me what I need to know!" Clara shouted, the words echoing through the attic. And with that, the shadows pulsed, preparing to reveal the deeper mysteries of their bloodline. But just before the secrets unfolded, Clara heard a voice. "You think you've won," and everything went dark once more. "You need to subscribe now. This is your moment to show your support. Press that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment with your reactions and theories about the ending. What do you think just happened? And don't wait another second to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know this story. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel.